What are the New Testament teachings regarding polygamy? The first thing one will notice is there are no verses in the New Testament that condemn polygamy. The issue of polygamy is virtually absent. The closest one gets to polygamy is in the parable of the 10 virgins found in Matthew 22, verses 1 to 12, where Jesus speaks of 10 virgins going to meet the bridegroom. The entire parable is built on the foundation of polygamy. Yes, it is a parable, but one must ask themselves, would Jesus, who plays the role of the bridegroom, place himself in a parable based on a foundation he found to be objectionable? I don't believe Jesus would give a parable where he likens himself to a pimp coming to 10 prostitutes. I believe Jesus finds prostitution to be objectionable, so he would not involve himself in a parable such as that. In my opinion, Jesus did not mind using polygamy as the foundational premise of Matthew 25, as polygamy was not objectionable to him. If it was, he easily could have formulated a parable of a shepherd looking for 10 sheep instead, which would have lead to a similar conclusions to be learned in the parable. Even though polygamy is never an issue in the New Testament, there are those who claim that the New Testament teaches against the practice, using various passages to prove it. Among them are the following. 1 Timothy 3:2. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach. Titus 1:6. If any be blameless, the husband of one wife, having faithful children, not accused of riot or unruly. Neither of these passages directly teach against polygamy. It does not say, only one wife. The word translated as, one, in these passages is from the Greek, case. This word is translated different ways in the New Testament. 229 times as, one. 9 times as, a, 6 times as, other, and so forth. Though usually it is translated as, one, it can be translated as, a. An example is found in Matthew 5:41. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Legitimate alternate of these verses are as follows. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of a wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach. If any be blameless, the husband of a wife, having faithful children, not accused of riot or unruly. There is no evidence in 1 Timothy that there was a question of how many wives a bishop could have. Neither is there any evidence of Titus questioning how many wives he should have. So why make it an issue? It makes more sense to me that Paul was stating that a bishop needed to marry. Though I am not a Greek scholar, I have seen nothing out there that the context of either passage that suggests, case, should be translated as, one, over simply, a. In my opinion, these two passages are weak arguments against polygamy. Another common passage used against polygamy in the New Testament is 1 Corinthians 7:2. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. The claim here is that it uses the words own wife and not wives. So what? If the Corinthians were not practicing polygamy, why would Paul use his wives in the plural? Polygamy was the furthest thing from Paul's mind here. We can know that, as Paul says, let every woman have her own husband. Is there any evidence in history or the scriptures that Paul was aware of women having more than one husband? If the answer is no, why pretend that Paul was speaking against polygamy when he says, let every man have his own wife? Since there is no evidence that polygamy was being practiced among the Corinthians, there is no reason to read an anti-polygamy message in it. It is simply not relevant to the Corinthians. Another claim made is the New Testament symbolically called the Church the bride of Christ and Jesus is the bridegroom, as found in these verses. Since the imagery presents one husband and one wife, this is an argument against polygamy. I don't understand the thought process made by this claim. This is a symbolic marriage between Jesus and his church. The church consists of many people, both male and female. Are we to assume that Jesus is going to marry each individual in the church? Does this not only imply polygamy but same-sex marriage? The answer is no. Jesus uses other analogies to represent his relationship between him and his people, such as he is the shepherd and his people are his sheep. The intent of the scriptures to refer to Jesus as the groom and his church his bride has to do with the relationship both of them have for each other. It is not intended to be an anti-polygamy message. In the Old Testament, a similar analogy is made between the Lord and the house of Israel and house of Judah in Jeremiah 31:31 and 32, where the Lord considers himself a husband to them. Should we consider this analogy to be pro-polygamy? I find this argument to be simply nonsense and grasping at straws to find an anti-polygamy message where it does not exist. There is no anti-polygamy teachings in the New Testament. The practice simply is ignored. It is possible it was not being practiced at that time. For Latter-day Saints, this is not a problem at all, as our doctrine is clear. Monogamy is the rule and polygamy the exception to the rule in times and situations when God commands it. If polygamy was not commanded in the 1st century, there would have been no reason for it to have been brought up. Thank you for your time.